in a lot of ways, what people are paying for is celebrity. You want certainty that it is the best person, it is the best advice, it is someone who knows exactly your situation. And in those things, you need the celebrity of knowledge of, oh my God, I've heard about this person. I read their book. I listened to their podcast. I know that they know what they're talking about. And you need this kind of information and this IP and these cultural artifacts because it is a way to demonstrate to people that there is no question that you are the person that they will want to buy from. Certainly all of my friends and colleagues in the author world are starting to talk about this. This is, on one hand, kind of theoretically a threat to the livelihood of authors. And then there's also the related piece of it, which is you're not really going to be in the conversation if your information isn't used as part of the training models.
Because it's the age of AI, it's probably like a great keynote talk, but the concepts you had of reinventing you that you wrote a dozen years ago are just as applicable, whether it's AI or not, isn't it?
It's a pretty evergreen topic, yeah.
Right?
Commoditization is the death knell, right? If anyone can do it, then that anyone is going to be AI that will do it. So you need to find the things that only you can do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited to bring a dear friend, a returning guest, and someone that's always a wealth of wisdom when it comes to your own growth, setting up your career as an employee. But today we're going to flip the script a little bit and have a conversation of what does it look like in today's ecosystem where employees will always do something that's maybe in their best interest. And there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between, companies are doing some layoff, employees are looking out for their own needs, AI is rising. What's the conversation looking like on the floor for employees that are looking to grow and managers who are trying to retain top talent? Dorie Clark is joining me, and she helps individuals and companies make sure their best ideas get heard in a crowded, noisy world. Named 3 times one of the best top 50 business thinkers in the world by Thinker 50, and honored as the #1 communication coach by Marshall Goldsmith, leading Global Coaches Award, top 5 communication professionals in the world by Global Gurus. She's a keynote speaker and teaches at Columbia Business School. Multiple books have been written, such as The Long Game, Entrepreneurial You, Reinventing You, and Standout Networking. We're going to have an amazing conversation today, following up on some previous conversations we've had on the podcast before. Dorie, welcome.
Jason, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And it was so fun. We went kind of down memory lane just before the call. We got a chance to reconnect in Amsterdam. You were speaking out at Mind Valley U, and maybe I just wanted to kick off with that. You've been playing with creating some quests, doing some content, working with Mind Valley. How's that been?
It's been really fantastic. It is about to launch as we are having this conversation. So I'm so excited for it to actually get out there and to see what people think and to hopefully have it help them. But the quest is about reinventing yourself. And I think that is such a important topic these days. I mean, in many ways, the principles of it are based on my book, Reinventing You, which came out now a dozen years ago. But it's still incredibly relevant. You were talking earlier about AI and the changes that we've experienced in the workplace. And a lot of people are choosing to ask questions about where they want to go, what they want to do professionally, and where they want their locus of meaning to be. And I think increasingly we're going to see people being forced to ask those questions as AI starts actually showing up in the numbers as disrupting jobs and leading to much slower hiring. So we're in a time of a lot of transition.
I feel like the last time we had a chat, AI was maybe just coming out. And so I'm wondering, when you have conversations with people and they're looking at the kind of work that you do, does AI play a big part in the conversation, or has that been kind of just happening in parallel beside your work?
Yeah, I mean, certainly all of my friends and colleagues in the author world are starting to talk about this. This is, on one hand, kind of theoretically a threat to the livelihood of authors. I mean, one of my homework projects tonight is actually poring over different elements of the Anthropic settlement and trying to look and see, okay, well, whose books were used in which books to train the material, and what does that look like? And then there's also the related piece of it, which is you're not really going to be in the conversation if your information isn't used as part of the training models. And so, okay, what does that look like? What does fairness look like in terms of being compensated for that? And what should we all be doing proactively? Whether you are an author, whether you're a business owner, you want to come up in these searches. We're even seeing the latest development. Again, as we're having this conversation, I'm sure there'll probably be plenty more in between when we're talking and when it gets put out. But the latest is that OpenAI has actually just launched a sales model where, in a sort of pilot way, you can be purchasing within the app, and they're experimenting with that. And it is going to be pretty revolutionary if you literally never have to leave their infrastructure to go to an Amazon or to go to a Google to make a purchase. So there's a big incentive to make yourself discoverable to answer engines.
Oh, that's like shots fired at Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. In the competition for attention, obviously a lot of our attention goes into AI. I'd be curious how it manifests in the workplace. I kind of introduced a kind of like a separation between what management perspectives is and employees' perspective is, and I don't even know if that's founded on anything. But from coming from a management point of view, like I'm seeing sometimes you're looking more at AI first, thinking, can you reduce your workforce? Can you make yourself more efficient? And I've seen a lot of industries have been doing a lot of layoffs, given that AI can do a lot of the tasks. And then from an employee's perspective, I have a feeling you're trying to find ways to make yourself irreplaceable in some capacity. Is that the reality of the conversation happening in America or around the world as well?
I think it is the reality. I mean, of course, it's not fundamentally different from anything that the conversation, has been in the past. There were always pressures where management was looking for ways to cut costs and save money, and workers were always looking to bolster their own career insurance. And so, in some ways, for the past decade plus in my work, I've been, I wrote a book called Stand Out. I've been talking about ways that we can protect ourselves as individual professionals by making ourselves more indispensable, by growing our brand and being better known, because the better known you are within your field or within your industry, if anything happens to you, you do have that floor under you, because there's always going to be somebody that wants to work with you because they know you, they know your reputation. That is still something incredibly valuable for people to be thinking about and pursuing. Um, Commoditization is the death knell, right? If anyone can do it, then that anyone is going to be AI that will do it. So you need to find the things that only you can do, and people will be seeking that out. So I think it's not a structural sea change, but it's more an intensification of the questions that leaders and employees have been facing for quite a while now.
I forget where I've seen this reference. Maybe it was just a quoted headline that had no substance, but still, I saw something saying millennials is the generation that kind of got betrayed because before the millennials, it seems like there was actually a path for having a long term career, and it was known as kind of the road to success. And it seems like with the disruption, things like, I don't know, internet. I don't know if that was the last one, the social media, the mobilization of mobile, and now AI. Like, is there even such a thing as having a career today, given all these changes for the younger generation?
Well, the asterisk I'm gonna put on it as as one of the younger Gen Xers is I think that it was probably the Gen Xers that got initially sort of screwed, because the mass corporate layoffs really began in earnest in the early to mid 90s. That was when we had Neutron Jack, quote unquote, and Chainsaw Al. I mean, for people who are too young to remember this, these were like popular Fortune 500 CEOs. These were their nicknames, so they were so into layoffs that they were both lauded and feared. Chainsaw Al Dunlop. you know? And so I think that was the place where people who were paying attention first started to say, "Oh, wait a minute, things are a little bit different here." But of course, there's different flavors, right? There was certainly an understanding that, all right, you're probably not going to get the gold watch from the place after 30 years. That was definitely, dad's generation, grandpa's generation. But eh, so I think there was an awareness of the precarity of things, but there was also a feeling, okay, well, it might not work out at this company, but I could switch to another company. I think now all of these pieces are kind of getting disaggregated. And so now it's like, okay, there's obviously large corporations and sometimes amazing things happen with them. I mean, if you're, for instance, an AI researcher right now, you literally might be getting a package for $100 million. I mean, it's absolute insanity, and that's fantastic if someone wants to give you that. But it's also true that for many people, it's not going to work out that way. And maybe the options might look more like cobbling together a variety of side gigs. It might look more like entrepreneurship, or it might look like balancing a series of jobs until you kind of work it out and figure out what you want to do. It's maybe more jobs than career. So I think we're beginning to have it be a little more accepted that you might actually have your own portfolio of activities rather than a sequential or up and to the right career. I don't know. What are your
Mm.
thoughts about this, Jason?
Well, two things come to mind. One is obviously the rise of gig economy has taken up a lot of space. Or talk about go for like Uber Eats drivers, Fiverr economy, taskification of a lot of things that still have its place. But again, if anyone can do it, then AI might start chopping away. And we're even seeing self-driving cars are coming along. So there goes that insurance policy. And my second thing is the bias I have being in, yeah, I live, breathe personal growth. I've worked at My Valley for so long. I still work for Soma Breath now. And I've always been in this realm of personal growth, personal development. And a big aspect that's been existing for a long time is a lot of coaching certifications have up and come. And I've always thought, "Oh, is this a bubble that exists inside personal growth where you can become a coach as a side gig?" And there's a lot of things maybe pushing for life coach, then business coach. Even for us, we teach people to become breathwork certified professionals. Is this something that's just happening in the personal growth field, or is there kind of this existence outside of this industry where a lot of people are like, "Hey, maybe getting a coaching certification or is a great way for me to, I don't know, future proof my own career and skills."
Yeah, I'm particularly interested in this. So I love that you've turned the topic here, because I run an online community where there's a lot of executive coaches, a lot of consultants, and so just people who are in that sort of ideas slash professional service provider realm. So I spend a lot of time in this world, and I think that. I have two thoughts about it. The first is that I do think that it actually is a great diversification in the sense that if you have a side business that, like coaching, has essentially no startup costs. I mean, you can have an office if you want, you can, but you really don't have to. You've got your laptop. It's just one of the least expensive things you can do. It enables you, much like an Uber driver, you can gear up, you can gear down. You can have one client if you want, you can have 20 clients if you want, God willing. If you have sharp entrepreneurial skills. And so it's flexible and it's very meaningful, which I think is so important. You might you might have a reasonable amount of fun doing different things, being a task rabbit and helping people assemble their IKEA shelves or whatever it is. But if you're coaching someone, presumably you are helping them with a skill that you have mastered and have taken the time to master and are passing along knowledge that you personally find meaningful. And that could be because you're helping someone tune into their body and their wellness, you're helping someone improve their business. These are things where you really can make a difference. And so I think that it actually is really fantastic. Now, my asterisk on this is that, like a lot of things, it is highly likely that coaching is going to continue to be a little bit more of like a kind of winner take all kind of premium product, and we have to be mindful of that. You can't just be a coach. You have to be a coach that is also very conscious of building your brand in the marketplace and being clear about what you do and making sure that other people know about it. Because there are a lot of things that, for the person who maybe in the past would have hired the sort of kind of entry level, oh, I'll pay someone $50 and maybe we can chat. Now you can get those things from apps. And it's true for a lot of things. I mean, instead of having a personal trainer, which I have tried, I'm not so much of a personal trainer person. I have a really great app and it's AI powered, it suggests workouts for me, and it works great for me. But there continue to be plenty of people, plenty of friends that I have that would never do it if it was just an app, and they need to have the guy in their living room. And so I think that it's just all of it's going up market, and we need to be conscious that we need to go up market with it as well.
You started off by talking about how AI even is taking away, authority with authors. Books are all being accessed through AI. What's gonna be left? Like, it seems like every place you think of putting together, like, okay, if I have a book, then I stand out, then I can be like, there's always little things you achieve that will make you maybe stand out, be better than the average. But it seems like all of these defense mechanisms or value creators, perceived value creators, are being eroded by AI. And so, what are you seeing as kind of the thing that'll make you differentiate and be part of the team that maybe is a winner take all?
Yeah. I mean, this is a drum that I've beaten for a while, but I continue to think that with AI, it's even more true, which is in a lot of ways what people are paying for is, and I'm going to put this in serious air quotes here. I will say celebrity. And in some cases, I mean literally celebrity, but clearly that's not what I mean in a business context. But the piece here is you want certainty. If you're going to pay money for someone or something, it's because you have a problem, you have something you're dealing with, and you want to pay for the solution. You want to pay for the peace of mind. And if it doesn't matter that much or you don't really care, well, sure, do the free thing. Put it into AI. It can help you do it. Okay, great. It'll be good enough. But there are certain things that are not, you just can't allow it to be good enough. It has to be exactly right. It has to be bespoke. It is high stakes enough that you want certainty that it is the best person, it is the best advice, it is someone who knows exactly your situation. And in those things, you need the celebrity of knowledge of, oh my God, I've heard about this person. My friend told me about them. My friend thinks they're wonderful. I read them in the Harvard Business Review. I read about them in the Wall Street Journal. I read their book. I listened to their podcast. I know that they know what they're talking about. And you need this kind of information and this IP and these cultural artifacts because it is a way to demonstrate to people even before they're officially in the buying mode, that you are the person that when they are wanting to buy, that there's no question that you are the person that they will want to buy from. That is my hypothesis about the situation. How do you read it?
Spot on. I feel the same, and I even think of my own. The two things I can take is from what I've hired and how I position myself too. So, I come into Soma Breath, and for example, one of the priorities we had last quarter that we just finished was a digital product upgrade. Now, I could take all of the video content we have, build a couple prompts, ask AI to build a curriculum. Very easy, but I needed I needed to feel that certainty. And I did not want to doubt that I was going in the right place. And so the celebrity that I went for is someone that knew had a reputation of being excellent at course creation. And I brought her
Yes.
onto another project before, and then I went to her, and then I'll do a shout out, Melissa, you were fantastic. So I contacted Melissa and I said, Melissa, I want to bring you on this project. And then I sold her on the project. She's like, yep, she charged a premium and it was worth paying. She took ownership of it and she drove the results. I think also for the person I brought as the marketer, a CMO, CRO, was a friend of mine. We had worked together on past project, had a good reputation. I didn't need to doubt it. I brought them in. And it's almost like this whole idea that referrals are becoming even more important than ever. Like they've always been important, but now it's almost like I don't trust anything except the kind of referrals I have. And so I've seen my own behavior that way. On the flip side, the way that I position myself and the things that I do that make me relevant is like, hey, I'm hosting this podcast. I wrote a book. I have a network of people that, have encountered me during my time at Mind Valley. I have a lot of people that ever, vouched for my reputation when I come in and manage their business. And even in the way that I've, acquired one of my last clients was just through a conversation, through a summit that we were having. And then as we chatted and I realized they had this need, I was like, well, this is what I do. We started working together. So that's I'm seeing this whole like, okay, do I need to play my output of that is like, okay, well, I need to play the social media game. Is this kind of is this the answer?
I'm not sure it needs to be social media, but it needs to be the content creation game. And those can be different. It doesn't have to be, the constant stream of, oh, here's my TikTok dance or, here's my reel. But and in particular, I'm a big fan of long form content
Mm,
because if we're really hyper focused on the idea of how do you demonstrate knowledge and expertise to potential clients, they kind of want more than 30 seconds. I mean, 30 seconds might catch someone's eye initially, which is great. But if someone is really vetting you for, a job, for a big consulting contract or something, they really want to understand at a deep level, what is this person's knowledge base? What is their perspective? Am I going to vibe with them? Am I going to trust what they tell me? And so it social media, quote unquote, could take the form of just writing articles for high profile publications. It could take the form of doing this podcast. It could take the form of long form explanatory videos on YouTube. However you pick it, you can find the medium for it that best suits your talents. But I think it needs to be something that at a sustained level demonstrates that you really are a master of your craft.
mm. I've always had a bias towards video. One is because I'm not particularly terrible at being on camera, so it becomes quite easy. But I also always thought, hey, if we're going to see a world with a lot more, AI, if you create the video, you have the audio and the transcript, so you kind of end up creating every medium at once. Is that something
Yeah,
you've
you're
also?
you're killing three birds with one stone, that's right.
Correct, correct. So I was like, okay, well, what's the most complex method of media that can be simplified to the other medias? And then if AI, so one of the things I particularly enjoy from the fact that I have the book is that if AI, somebody says like, hey, who are the people that speak about things like selling with care and love, then I've been indexed. If somebody's looking for podcasts or like all of the conversations like we're having now, 500 episodes, like all of that is fed into this AI behemoth, and I feel like that is the new SEO in some capacity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems pretty clear that it's going to be. So, I one of the things I'm starting to do, I'm in a very nascent level, as I think most people are, is to learn a little bit more about, well, what does AI want in terms of those things? And it seems like, oh, okay, structured content. So you have to be laying things out in a very particular way to help it glom onto the right content. And, eventually all this stuff, we probably won't have to think about it again. I mean, it's you go through waves, right? Where if you wanted to design a web page in 1995, you had to learn HTML, you had to learn Java. And then, now if you want to, even 10 years after that, but certainly 30 years after that, if you want to, build a web page, you just need to know how to use a keyboard in Microsoft Word and it'll make it and it's beautiful. So I think that you don't necessarily, over time, um, the search engines or the answer engines, as they call them, are going to get good enough that they will figure out everything that they need to know. But at least for the time being, there's a lot of discussion around this question of, well, how do you format the content so that it will be most GPT friendly, so that you can be the one that's featured in first place, rather than other people. And you've probably experienced this too. I mean, I periodically have heard from people who are emailing me and say, "Oh, Chat GPT suggested you," and it's always interesting. And you're kind of piecing together now in these early days, like, well, why? What did it pick up on? What was the query? And a lot of it's the black box because we don't exactly know what it's doing. You don't know exactly what these people are typing, but it's fascinating to watch it unfold.
100%. I mean, for the breathwork school that we're part of, that's a big lead source right now. Is when people search for best breathwork school, we come up as number one. And we're like, we've put some investment into SEO over the years, and that seems to have translated in some way for the answer engine. But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be all these programs coming out, which are going to be like, find yourself top ranked in answers from multiple AIs, guaranteed on Grok, ChatGPT, all that. Like the marketers are coming for that industry as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Um, so I had a question I wanted to ask since you're doing talks like all over the world. Obviously, we connected at Mind Valley in Amsterdam recently. What is the thing that you notice companies are most excited about wanting to discover from your work?
Oh, interesting. Wanting to discover from my work. Well, I think that a core element of it, I mean, there's a few swirling pieces, but my most recent book, and we talked about this on, I think, our last chat together, the
Hmm.
long game, how to be a long-term thinker in a short-term world, is something that still has a lot of relevance for people. I mean, certainly the pace of change, the perceived pace of change has only intensified for corporate leaders. And so I think it really is a kind of perennial concern that, okay, I want to be strategic. I want to be steering the ship. And yet every day I get into the office and I feel like I'm not steering the ship. There's like a typhoon coming at my head. What do I do? And we know what we want to do, what we should be doing, and we just seem to be pathologically incapable of making it happen. And so there's because of that disconnect, there's a lot of interest in this question of, all right, well, what do we do? How can we manage to carve out a path for ourselves, even a small path in between all of the crises that we constantly feel? I think the other piece that a lot of corporate audiences come to me for is this question around reinvention, which is the topic of my quest for Mind Valley. Particularly in the age of AI, there is a concern. Certainly, some of these companies are going to be letting people go, and they need to think about that and what they're going to do and outplacement. I think individuals are concerned about, oh, is there going to be a job for me? And if I lose my job, how hard is it going to be to find another? Because, of course, we're seeing a little bit in terms of layoffs, but what we're actually seeing even more of is just not hiring. And that's the more insidious thing. And that's where it's affecting a lot of newer graduates and Gen Z folks is that, there's a lot of drama around firing people. You have to, pay them stipends sometimes and they get upset and it looks bad. But no one is ever going to blame you for just not hiring. And so the the challenge becomes if you get off the highway, if you sort of take that exit ramp, either voluntarily or involuntarily, can you get back on again? And that's going to be a lot trickier. So those are some of the questions, reinventing you in the age of AI that companies come to me to think about and talk about.
I feel like you probably know this already, but it doesn't seem like because it's the age of AI is probably like a great keynote talk, but the concepts you had of reinventing you that you wrote a dozen years ago are just as applicable, whether it's AI or not, isn't it?
It's a pretty evergreen topic. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I know, just as a refresher, because this was one of the first conversations we had on the podcast was just about like, hey, like use LinkedIn if it is a social media play, like create the content, position yourself as a subject matter expert. You're doing your job and you realize or you don't realize how much you're actually doing fantastic work that is perceived highly valuable by others. So now I would assume that you actually encourage companies to support your employees to be, you know, developing themselves as subject matter experts. And I might want to just throw up the question about the case for companies to allow or suggest to your employees to go and develop their own expertise when you might be in a climate where you're afraid of losing them. What's the case you usually make for organization?
Yeah. I mean, I think that for an organization, right now, we're back to more historical norms. If we were talking 2022, 2023, we were having this wild moment, which you probably remember with, quiet quitting and the great
Yes.
resignation and everything
Yes.
like that. And all of a sudden, for this brief moment, which even at the time I knew was not going to last because it absolutely can't last, where workers perceived, and for a short time did, that they had disproportionate bargaining power. And so, stomping their foot and saying, "No, I'm not coming back into the office. No, I moved to Idaho. I'm going to stay in Idaho." Or, "No, I need this raise," or I don't want to be on that project." Whatever it is, "I want to take my sabbatical." And because supply chains were wacky and because everything had been upended with COVID, and it actually was hard to find qualified employees, largely because we were having very lucrative government payments to people. And so everybody felt kind of rich temporarily. It was just a really weird time. And anyway, all that's gone now. And the power has reverted to employers, which, honestly makes sense because employers are the ones giving employees the money. So this is a much more normal situation that if you are the one paying the money, you have the power. So um, I think that if an employee were to lose their job, we're in a moment now where it is much more challenging to find the next thing. So all this is to say, I don't think that employers need to be especially worried. It's, I think, a very damaging scarcity mentality to say, "Oh, if we let our employees become recognized and respected in their field, they're just going to jump ship or they're just going to demand these things." This is essentially like saying, "You know what? I want to keep my wife barefoot and pregnant. That'll be better because then she won't have any alternatives." Like, "Oh, is that how we want to be in the world? I'd rather have a wife that wants to be there."
You're stating the obvious, but I think the example and extremes were necessary to make you realize how maybe it is that ridiculous. I just think of my own buying behaviors as well. Like, I think of the organizations I get excited about spending money with versus the ones that I actually force myself not to spend money with, just because I know that there's just not as much care. That there's maybe not as much engagement from the employees and passion and care for what they're creating. I'm someone that loves video games, and for example, small studio built a game where you can see that the leadership is caring about the product, taking care of their people. They get my money immediately. Pre-order, no questions asked. And then I see some of the bigger companies and you're hearing about the layoffs. You're seeing that it's like profit first. You even seen the decisions they making about releasing a game. You know it's not going to be finished. They probably cheaped out on quality assurance so they could get rid of some staff. Now my buying behavior with them is highly reluctant. I wait. I don't want to pay full price. And I feel for a lot of organizations that might be one of the incentives is that, hey, when you take care of your people, you're developing the great culture, everyone's talking good about it, your sales kind of come naturally better. It's almost like the new organic sales comes from your staff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it is incredibly powerful when employees actually want to be there and are feeling good. I mean, there's a million business case reasons, right? I mean, it takes sometimes up to half of a person's salary just to replace them with wasted work and headhunter costs and signing bonuses and things like that. So, it's inefficient and stressful to have to do that. So we want to mitigate turnover, but also just on the plus side, it's harder to measure. But having people who like their job enough to want to recruit their friends to work there people who like where they work long enough to actually be there so that they understand the systems, they understand how things get done, they can be faster, they can be more efficient because they know the implicit, not just the explicit ways that things get through there. It's hard to quantify, but incredibly powerful. I mean, for me, I take it as a point of pride. I started having assistants a number of years ago in my business. My first assistant stayed with me for 7 years, and my current assistant is coming up on 6. So I really like working with people, and I see the benefits of having people who know me deeply, who they know, like if Jason reaches out to me, they it's like they let me know because it's not just a random person; it's someone I want to hear from, and someone that should go to the front of the line, and that matters a lot.
We've explored a lot of the trends. We've seen what's happening for companies and employees' perspective. I'd be hearing about you. You obviously have this quest that's coming up with Mind Valley. What are some of the exciting projects you're looking forward to, or some of the changes in the industry that you're looking at that gets you really fired up this year?
There's so many amazing things that I'm excited about in terms of seeing where the world goes. I mean, at a really high level, like a macro level, the things that I'm excited about, number one on the list is AI's diagnostic abilities. I really think there is a non-zero chance that in the next 5 years AI technology is going to be able to dramatically expand people's life and health expectancy because of number one, rapid drug development. We're already seeing huge gains in terms of the ability to find molecules and test them. Number two, in terms of enhanced diagnostics, I'm having a full body MRI on Friday, which even a couple of years ago it cost $1,500. Now it's $500, and we're seeing everything. Those things that AI is making possible is absolutely incredible. The second thing that I'm really excited about is self-driving cars, and I really just hope that the politics doesn't screw it up because the life-saving benefits of that enhanced technology and the documented improvements of how much better they are than random drunk sleepy humans. I am really excited about Waymo and Zooks and their friends, and I want them to come as fast as they possibly can. And yeah, on a professional level, I would say that I'm really interested in trying to wrap my head around some of the things that we've been talking about, which is in the age of AI, the burgeoning age of AI, what is the way that a person or a business can stand out and make an impact? Obviously, whenever there's kind of a seismic shift in terms of how people communicate, it opens up opportunities, and there are changes of some people getting more exposure and some people getting less. And if you want to be recognized for your expertise, what does that look like? And I think it's kind of an ongoing iterative challenge for people to really figure that out now.
Well, Dory, I'm always grateful for having you on the show, sharing some of your thoughts. And one of the things I'm excited about, kind of piggybacking on your last point, is I think with things like AI and every technology that has come from the internet, from social media, from just the way that we're all connected, every step of the way, it seems to actually help filter out a lot of the lesser valued, less authentic services and getting us closer and closer to a good match of the value, the payment. I feel like it's shifting a lot of power into the buyers because the information can't be as manipulated as we have a lot more of these tools, have a lot more sophistication. So I'm personally excited about just seeing the people and the companies that put in the work of doing some good work, purposeful, meaningful, that care about their clients, are getting closer and closer towards getting the transactions as opposed to those who just know how to manipulate. And that's been at the ethos of my whole selling with love stuff. So I'm seeing that happen, and I think the trend's going in the right way. And I'm going to encourage everybody who wants to stay on the cutting edge of what's going to be happening for individuals and businesses to continue following Dory. What would be the best place for people to continue the conversation with you now?
Thank you so much. My website is dorieclark.com, and we've got 700 plus articles that I've written there for different publications. And every week I send out a highly crafted, with love, free newsletter that people can subscribe to at dorieclark.com/subscribe.
Dory, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your thinking, and all the content that you shared on this platform so many times. It's always good to have you back. good to hear of your course that's going to be coming out with Mindvalley, the Quest. So I can't wait to see that be on the platform, as I'm still a user there as well. And I wish you all the best, and always take care, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jason. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Jason Marc Campbell Business Podcast. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to dig deeper into other topics, we have some more episodes that we've linked here. Some of them are related to sales, other on business, and even some on being more productive at work. Whatever it is you're interested in, we have so many episodes that are being listed on this channel. So please dig in, enjoy, and of course, keep selling with love.